Hello, my name is Drake Grin, and I'm here to give you my recap video. So, question number one on the recap is, what do I think of the selection of Qatar's national weightlifting team? I think this is similar with what will happen with Becky Hammon and the rest of the Olympics. I think the fact that you can let me start with this. The Olympics are an international competition where you represent your own country. The fact that you can represent a country that you're not originally from or have not lived in for, like, I guess more than where it's not the country that you grew up in, I should say, rather than lived in, I think is kind of unethical in that sense. So I think any athlete outside that was not either born in or grew up in the country they're competing for is pretty unethical for the Olympic Games. I'm not a fan of Qatar's national weightlifting team or any other Qatar team that does not represent that does not have athletes that are from or grew up in Qatar. The Chinese number two is the Chinese system for international success with their athletes. Again, I think this is pretty unethical. It turns these young children into professional athletes at too young of an age and puts pressures on them that is not okay for kids their age. And it's clearly shown that when they do not succeed in the way that the country wants them to, they are basically kicked to the curb and there's no security blanket for them. So I think it's pretty unethical. Question number three, did Becky Hammon do anything unethical? What would you do in the same circumstance? This is an interesting one. I think the fact that she went and played for Russia, besides the fact that it's Russia, is unethical for the reason I said above, that she's not from Russia, she's not Russian, so she should be playing for the American team. The weird part about the situation is the way the American team was treating her. I don't know that much about Becky Hammon and how her skill set and her athletic ability in the WNBA and where she would rank in the game, whether she was good enough to make the team. But it's like, if I'm not good enough to make the United States baseball team, I shouldn't sign up to go play for the Italian baseball team or something like that. Like, if you're not good enough to make the American team, you're just not good enough to play in the Olympics. So I think it's pretty unethical to change your country based off, who will let you play. So I didn't like that very much, and I would not have supported her decision to do that, despite the fact that this is where she's making the most money. So I understand parts of her mindset, but I don't think it's ethical, and I would not have done the same in those circumstances. The number four, the culture of golf demands respect, sportsmanship, and high ethical standards. What are your three takeaways from the video? I think first off, the Ryder Cup is a it's a different game than like a normal golf tournament. It's one of the few times in golf in professional golf, where it is like head on head, team versus team, rather than everybody's just playing for themselves. So I think it kind of changes into a team sport, which some of the golf culture changes in that aspect, and it's grown into that more so even in recent years, and it's a really cool event, and players often have now kind of adapted to it and really like the aspect of the competition and the drop in ethics, I guess you would say, and the properness of golf, and let this this one tournament show the true competitive and team nature that the game can be. Takeaway number two, I'd say, having said that, I think the fans who were saying, pretty hateful and hate-filled remarks to the other team's player, that's kind of a fine line. You shouldn't go there. It should stay between the players, and the fans should still be supportive. You can root for your own side, but you should not be badgering and saying somewhat, it seemed, racist remarks to the Europeans. And my third takeaway was that I think golf has changed nowadays, and players are more willing to kind of go back and forth and talk more smack, I guess you would call it, between each other, and that they've adapted to this new Ryder Cup setting, and and they've really liked it. So I think the ethics have been changed since then. My takeaway is I can talk a lot about that Ryder Cup. My uncle played on the same collegiate golf team at Texas as Justin Leonard, and my grandfather happened to be good friends with Ben Crenshaw, so I know a lot about that Ryder Cup specifically, and it was a really cool one, and really enjoyed that video. So that concludes my recap, and thank you very much.